You have just started an A-level course in economics, or you are realising that you are needing to revise your understanding of A-level economics. Welcome! Whatever your understanding thus far, or if you're at the very beginning, we need to review and get a good grasp of the basic ideas or concepts and the thinking that we need to employ to become a good economist. The motive of offering this course is that many students I've taught over the years do not have a real grasp of what is going on logically, or they struggle to evaluate policies, or they get stuck in understanding the complexity of the many variables we sometimes have to consider when looking at market changes or the effects of policies. There is also a pragmatic need to understand how graphs work. We need to be literate in basic statistical analysis and graphology, as it were, to be able to proceed with confidence. Now you may be thinking, yeah, I know all that, but I'm still struggling about something. Indeed, we always struggle when we do not know what we think we know. This is called unconscious incompetence, and slowly we start to realise that we are not competent, so we become consciously incompetent. Now our goal is to become consciously competent. I love it, CC. A confident and competent economist heading into the final exams and onward to a great career. Great alliteration for your English. So let's start at the very basics. Now there are many places to start, as different textbooks offer different approaches, but I want to start with the notion of the economic problem that usually economists throw at us in the first week. That resources are scarce and our wants are unlimited or infinite. We have to learn that. Limited resources, unlimited wants. So when we look around us, we see a world of elements, compounds, things in general, whatever you want to call them, some of which we can use without any cost to ourselves, such as breathing air. But other things we see and want, we need to exchange a value to get our hands on. Now usually this takes the practice of buying something, so of going into a shop and purchasing a sandwich, for example, and for this sandwich we give up money in our pocket or credit in our bank account in return for the thing we want to eat. Now, resources such as air are generally considered not economic goods. They're called free goods. They are free for us to use and use as many times as we want throughout our life without affecting other people's use of them. My breathing a gallon of air over a few seconds does not affect your breathing of a gallon of air. Similarly, a viewpoint is not consumed or degraded by the number of people who enjoy it. It is not consumed as such. Economic goods are always considered to be scarce in the broad sense of the word, that your consumption of, say, that particular sandwich takes away another person's ability to eat that particular sandwich. Now, if there are 10 sandwiches on the shop shelf and I come in and purchase my sandwich, there are 9 left for other people to choose from. As other people buy sandwiches, of course, the shop's stock of sandwiches declines eventually to zero. Now, what is fascinating from the economic perspective is that the shopkeeper then has an incentive in serving his customers to perhaps buy more sandwiches on the daily or weekly order from the producers or distributors if they experience an increase in demand for sandwiches in the shop. But that increasing demand for sandwiches in the shop or in the distributors then feeds through the marketplace, drawing resources into producing more sandwiches. Overall, let's say in the country, or diverting the number of sandwiches that are produced daily or weekly to this particular shop. In return, the producers have to secure resources that they need to use to produce sandwiches by drawing on their markets that they engage in. It becomes rather entertaining to consider how minute effects in a market or in a shop can have grander effects across the entire country or even nation. And although I'm jumping the gun here, what is absolutely amazing is that the market, or we should say the markets that make up an economy, are complex and beyond the ability of any one person, or artificial intelligence shall we say, to understand. It's no exaggeration to consider that there may be thousands of people interacting to produce a single commodity, such as a pencil. Prices are formed for these economic goods by virtue of this mutual interaction in the marketplaces, each person striving to make a living for themselves and to flourish. No one, no state, no president, no committee or judge decides what a price is or should be for an economic good. The price emerges from millions of people interacting around the world. Yet, as we get into the course, there are times when states, presidents, etc. do seek to control the price, and we review what are the consequences of their attempts. Spoiler alert, they're usually disastrous. Now, for this first lesson, this is what you need to understand. Economists focus on the goods and services that are considered scarce at any particular time, the sandwich for example, and how their production and consumption relate to people's desires or their wants for them. But from the point of view of some critical thinking, which all A-level students need to engage in, you're at the right age, I would like to imagine what an infinite want would look like. It's a rather strange concept, an unlimited want for books, for example, or unlimited movies to watch or foods to eat. So we may subtly adjust the concept to say that people have changing desires and perhaps a general desire to want more of something or better quality products than less of something or worse quality products. It's a cheap comment to say that people do not need more resources to live the better life. It depends what we mean by resources here. As economists, we do not make judgment calls on what people should produce, buy, consume or distribute, etc. We hold our judgment back so that we may consider the economic logic of changes to their decisions or effects of interventions in the decision-making processes in the marketplace. But to take our thinking up a level, we can question the notion that non-economic goods are really non-economic and not scarce at all. Living in a polluted city, people give up clean and fresh air that may be found in other areas of the country to enjoy the benefits and opportunities of city life. But then they pay for holidays or breaks to these cleaner areas. We can say that the clean air in the countryside is actually a scarce commodity relative to that in the city, as people engage in economic activity to secure their holiday by the sea or up in the bracing Yorkshire hills or moors or the Scottish and Welsh mountains. And think about the viewpoint. Just looking at the view does not consume the view, as we mentioned earlier, but perhaps parking a car in a local countryside car park and walking up designated paths to enjoy the view does have an effect on the availability of car spaces and the quality of the path as more and more people walk on it. These are then in the realm of economic goods and, we could argue, could be priced accordingly in the marketplace. If, and this is a big if, the paths and the car park are privately owned or owned in such a manner that the custodians, like the local council or a charity, can charge for their uses. And what if I need air while I'm scuba diving? Well, I'll have to pay for it. So these enjoyable exceptions to the basic idea helps us consider the more subtle issues regarding our descriptions in economics. But to secure your first lesson in 10 minutes in economics, make sure that you split economic goods from free goods as a starting point, and that you have an idea of unlimited or infinite wants and relatively scarce resources around us. Here endeth the first lesson. Thank you for listening and watching.